So, thanks for the vote of confidence. Nice to win by acclamation. I guess I better win this for you, hey? This time around, we're going to take Edmonton-Strathcona. Right? Almost did it last time. Almost isn't good enough. This time we're taking it.
Yes.
I'm giving notice, and I hope this isn't a shock to Jack, that I am going to be Edmonton-Strathcona's true law and order candidate. But that's law and order for the environment, law and order for future health and well-being of Canadians, and law and order to save our planet. This requires putting the future interests of Canadians first. Enough promises, enough recycling somebody else's promises. We had another one of those today from our government. Enough talk, enough posturing, enough pretending we're green. We need action, and we need it right now. Way to go, Sharon! And how we're going to do this than sending an NDP MP from this riding to support the efforts of Jack Layton in his caucus of Parliament. And that's how we're going to make real progress with concrete actions, which Jack Layton is famous for, to prevent continued harm to our health and environment, to give affected communities like ours in Alberta, like affected communities right across our province, a real voice in the decisions that affect us, to provide us with the peace, order, and good government that we're entitled to, and to restore our international reputation. We need more NDP MPs to do that, and it's the only way we're going to get there. Let me give you a few concrete examples of why I am targeting law and order, and why I am so personally convinced that it's the NDP who are the only ones who can best implement this agenda. And no, I'm not just saying this because I'm a lawyer. Climate change. We're tired of hearing about it as a problem. We need more NDP members in Parliament so that we can solve this problem. Enough talk. A broad consensus in this country and across the world that urgent action is needed by all sectors of society, and not just on the backs of us. Okay, so we drive better cars and we turn down our heat, but we know who the major emitters are. We need that concerted action to achieve the major reductions in greenhouse gases to prevent the devastating impacts of climate change. For heaven's sakes, even the Terminator's on side. Get with it, Harper. The Canadian environment is at risk, in particular Canada's Arctic and our glaciers and rivers, and we need to look no further than our Saskatchewan River. Further south, the South Saskatchewan River, the Athabasca River. Those are all fed by Alberta's glaciers, and they're already melting away. We are in a desperate strait. We need action now to save our drinking water, our irrigation water, and our industries, which are relying on those waters. So we need action now. The Liberals had a lot of plans, right? But they delivered few concrete measures. Conventions were ratified, but little domestic action to actually comply. One thing we did have, and I give them full credit, was a lot of consultation. So when Harper says, oh, well, we can't move yet because we have to talk to everybody. No, enough. I mean, how many of you here in this room were at consultation after consultation on why we have to reduce toxins, why we have to save the last of our wildlands, why we have to take action on climate change? Enough talking. We need action. We need Jack Layton and his party and more people in Jack Layton's caucus so we can move forward. Regrettably, the first acts by the Harper government were the shredding of all federal climate change programs. First thing they did, they brought in the shredder. Here, Rona, that's your job. Shred all of the initiatives to protect the environment. Why? Presumably because they were Liberal initiatives. Well, excuse me. Those were not Liberal initiatives. A whole lot of them were negotiated by Jack Layton in the Liberal budget. A whole lot of those were initiatives that you and I sat at the table negotiating. Those were not capital L Liberal initiatives. Those were initiatives for all of Canada. Well, now they've suddenly discovered me starting to tape together some of the shredded paper. I can hardly wait to see, some that might not get quite matched up. So it's important to recall that we also lost in that shredding, but the NDP negotiated federal support for public transit and home energy retrofits, so we lost a whole year. For the first year in office, Harper's agenda was driven by a mindset of climate change denial. Well, all of a sudden, they've discovered it. Both Harper and Rona Ambrose refused to meet with international experts. She didn't even have the basic courtesy to reply to my personal invitation to her to come and meet and hear Tim Flannery, the renowned Australian expert who spoke at our national convention. The big event the Edmonton Journal sponsored, full house at the Windspear. Who wasn't there? Rona Ambrose. Didn't even bother to return the call. That's how committed she is. Rona Ambrose proceeded to shut the public out of all the dialogues on her, or rather Harper's, environmental agenda. She embarrassed us on the international stage by pronouncing that Canada will violate our international commitments. And Harper then tabled a bill that offered absolutely no tangible reductions for 40 years. The NDP and a few others have campaigned for a more democratic system of governance by replacing this outdated first-past-the-post system with a more democratic proportional representation system. But that system of government demands a new mindset and a new maturity in approaches to decision-making. It requires that the parties set aside their political differences and seek consensus on key law and policy reforms for the benefit of all Canadians. I have personal experience with participating in those kinds of processes. They're hard to get to, they don't happen very often, we need to laud our successes when we get them. We've had a few even here in Alberta, but it requires everybody's willingness. So Jack Layton deserves to be lauded for persuading Harper to turn this bill over to an open, transparent, all-party committee to be rewritten. This is a minority government. Someone needs to step forward and make it work. Jack did it with his 2005 budget amendments. The challenge now before us is to bring forward the best ideas and mend this law. Not just amend, but mend this very bad law tabled by the Tory government. Canadians don't lack the willingness or the abilities to forge a cleaner economy. The key barrier is the lack of federal, and frankly provincial also, government will to build and implement this longer-term agenda, and within a true democratic process. Not a fast-tracked, closed process. A process that puts the future security of Canadians first. I look forward to moving that agenda forward with you as your next MP. Woo! Bone tired of fighting government. I want to become that better government. Yeah! Thanks. Are you with me? Are we going to take this ride?